Alright, like many of you out there, we're trying to do what we can to make the world a better place. Check out the links in the description of this podcast for ways that you can help out recent hurricane victims, information on voting in your state, and ways to help combat injustice and inequality. And find the link for our Twitter in there too, and come join the conversation with us. We'd love to hear from you. And on that note, let's get the conversation started. Hello and welcome to LexiCon. It is Maddie, along with
Lexi.
Dylan.
And over the last several weeks, we've been looking at a lot of nostalgic pop culture. We looked at the MASH cartoon, we watched... I said MASH.
Yes, you did.
The MASH cartoon.
MASH!
Animated Hawkeye. Not that Hawkeye. Hawkeye Pierce. Oh my god, the ultimate crossover. Hawkeye Pierce and Hawkeye from Marvel. I'd fucking watch it.
Sounds like something you'd watch.
But anyway, we've been looking at a lot of older series and movies and whatnot because, quite frankly, there's not a ton of new pop culture going on right now. I mean, there's definitely some, but we haven't been able to partake in as much of it as normal as many people haven't. There's not a bunch of movies at theaters or opportunities to go to theaters or things going on, so we've been taking a look back at the past. But now we're going to take a look at something from the present, or, well, the recent past, technically, but still 2020 pop culture.
Yeah.
And not, awful virus-tinged, election-centric, civil rights-focused. Not there's anything awful about that, but there've been awful things going on that have caused people to have to renew cries for, improved civil rights and what have you. But this is, it's 2020 pop culture because it came out in 2020. It could have come out in 2019. It could have come out in 2018. It could come out next year. It is of its times, but it's not necessarily reflective of our current situation. It's something to take us out of that for a minute. I feel like I'm rambling. You guys just stop me. Just slap me.
You're explaining it.
That was a weak slap.
Fine, come back.
That was a weak slap too, man. I don't even know if that picked up.
Apparently this is a podcast where we slap each other now.
Okay. That.
He just slapped his hand. Come on, if you're gonna fake slap, at least. No, so you put your hand up to their cheek and slap the hand. I don't know. That was all close to my nose.
You've made
this is my hand move.
Listen.
Welcome to How to Fake Slap.
Anyway, this is all a really long-winded way to get around to saying we're gonna take a look at a couple of infamous, famous, well-known, a couple of pop culture characters who at one time took an excellent journey. No, they had an excellent adventure.
Yeah.
Fuck, I'm screwing up.
No, dang it, it's all ruined.
They had an excellent adventure, then went on a bogus journey, and in 2020 they faced the music. I'm talking, of course, about Bill and Ted. A very...
Something.
A very something?
Yup.
No, this is one of those, well-regarded sort of touchstone films for 80s and 90s kids. I mean, I grew up with Bill and Ted. I mean, I wasn't a huge Bill and Ted fan. They're not my favorite movies of the era, but they're certainly among the movies I watched in heavy rotation and, would go back to now and again.
I didn't even know when these movies were from until just now.
I want to say the first one's 88.
Nice.
And the second one, I think, is 91.
That's right. This movie kind of doesn't follow the same naming thing as the other two. Because the other one's adjective and then adventure, journey. But this one's face the music.
Yeah, but it's still Bill and Ted something, so...
Yeah.
It's not... And I mean, look, that's sort of how the movie is. It sort of goes off a little bit from the other two, but I think it pretty much upholds the spirit of the other two.
I haven't seen the other two.
You haven't, that's right. And Dylan just saw them for the first time in the days leading up to us viewing the new movie.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
So he came with a fresh perspective. Of course, like I said, I grew up with them and watched them multiple times on VHS as a kid and probably on cable. I don't think I saw either one in the theater. But
You've seen a lot of movies in theater.
I have. Especially in that era, the 80s and the early 90s, I was a regular moviegoer. And then pretty much the rest of the 90s, I didn't really go to the movies
Did you
at
do
all,
a lot of
really.
renting?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, of course, cable.
True.
Had HBO, got to see a lot of movies that way.
Had HBO.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then by the time your mother and I got together in the early 2000s, I started going to see movies a little more and more. And then, of course, in recent years, especially with the Marvel movies and some of the big event films we've been into,
Yes.
we've been much regular moviegoers.
Yes.
But, Bill and Ted, I don't think I saw either one in the theater. I pretty much remember all the movies I saw in the theater. I don't recall either one of these being theater films, but it's slightly possible. But I definitely saw them, and a lot, They were ones my friends and I would go back to regularly. Maybe not... They were definitely in heavy rotation. Maybe they weren't necessarily top tier, they're the ones we always go back to. But, I was big into action movies in the 80s, too. The Schwarzenegger films like Commando and Predator.
Wasn't everyone big in action movies in the 80s?
I mean, that is.
But I like comedies
80s.
too. Trading Places is one of my favorite movies. That's from the 80s. A lot of Eddie Murphy's movies from the 80s were really good. So
You're losing me again.
They're
I just
Crocodile Dundee movies. Those are some of my favorites.
I just want to say, because you're going through this list, there's a list of different, I believe, all 80s, maybe 80s, 90s. No, I think it's all 80s movies going around that a lot of my friends share. And it's like about how many you've seen, and like all my friends can say they've seen all of them. I say here, like, I've seen 3.
I'd like to see that list.
Yeah, I'll have to try to find it. I know one is Lost Boys, and I can't remember the other 2.
We'll share it on Twitter if you can send it to me.
Okay.
I've definitely seen Lost Boys. You know, well, we talked about that on the Lost Boys episode. There's sequels to Lost Boys that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
They came out years later. And there's, like I said, I think it's about 3 years in between the Bill and Ted movies, if I'm not mistaken. But again, still late 80s, early 90s. That, you know, everything sort of runs together in that time period. Oh, come on. The 90s, the 80s. I think any era I've lived in is my era.
Yes. But, like, when we go into a conversation like this, that is your era.
Yeah, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey was 1991, so I was correct about that.
Nice.
And the other one was definitely 80s. I want to say, like I say, about 88.
About 88. Sounds good.
Hold on, I got it right here. 89, so I was
89.
close.
Close enough.
So the end of the 80s, they brought us into a new decade.
Nice.
And now they're here to shepherd us through this foul year of our Lord 2020. They weren't that much of a calming presence for me, but it was cool to check in with them. And it's the as far as I know, the original writers. And I found out the director of the movie is also the director of Galaxy Quest.
Oh, that's
the movie
cool.
we looked at here on the podcast is a really good movie. So
Yes.
a nice pedigree there. And of course, Alex Winters and Keanu Reeves are back saying the roles of Bill and Ted.
I had no idea that Keanu Reeves was in it until y'all watching that thing, and I was like, hey, that's Keanu
That's his first major role for sure, not necessarily his first acting role.
I couldn't even
period,
tell it was
but
him.
That's
I mean,
where,
that could be my poor eyesight, but still.
That's where Keanu came from for me. But anyway, if I didn't say it already, I mean, I enjoyed this movie. Like I said, I think it definitely upheld the spirit of the first 2 movies and didn't radically alter the characters in any ways other than the fact that, you know, just like in real life, their on-screen lives are decades later, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's an exact 29-year difference, but, you know.
I thought it was good.
Between 20 and 30 years.
I can't compare it to the others, of course.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you went into it completely cold.
Yeah.
And Dylan...
I'm not sure I'd compare this to the others.
Doesn't it eat some stuff from the others?
I feel like it has the same spirit of the first 2, that sort of silly zaniness of the first 2. I think, and like I say, the characters are still basically who they are. I mean, again, aged up 20 plus years, but there's no radical departures. There's no, you know, Disney Star Wars trilogying of it or anything. There's no Steven Universe futuring of it or anything. But yeah, I will say, I do have one major complaint in that they sort of retcon the end of the second movie. Now, the second movie, Dylan, you can speak to this more than your sister. It does a pretty good job of maintaining the storyline from the first movie. I mean, it has a little bit of inconsistencies, because again, I think the point is more like, hey, let's make a fun movie and make a fun story that fits in with the other one, but it's still its own story, and let's do what we think is going to be fun for this one. But it does a pretty good job of maintaining the narrative from the first one into the second one, in building up to the moment when Bill and Ted finally take their places as not only rock superstars, but also, you know, world peace bringers. And you have that long sequence at the end after they finally learn to play that big important Battle of the Bands concert, and you see how Wild Stallions music brought peace to the Middle East, and inexplicably the Grim Reaper winning the Indy 500, and you know, they have him leaving the group and flopping with the solo album and coming back, and then the stock market crashes because there's rumors that Bill and Ted were going to break up, and it turns out it was a hoax, and the stock market reaches its highest peak, and so they do all the things that they were prophesized to do. Prophesized is probably the wrong word, but that it was said they were going to do. Okay, really quickly for you, and for anybody listening who hasn't seen the first 2 movies, we start out in this futuristic society where everything is lovely, and it's all built upon Wild Stallions music. Wild Stallions is Bill S. Preston and Ted Logan.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know exactly how it works, but apparently they can see that they're struggling, or they knew they were going to struggle. For whatever reason, George Carlin, in the role of Rufus, has to go back in time to help them pass their history final so that they won't get split up with Ted getting sent to military school, so they can form the band and, you know, bring peace to the world and create the society that's completely built upon their music.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, that's finally comes to fruition at the end of the second movie. They finally learn to play. They play at the Battle of the Bands, and, you know, they bring peace and harmony to the world. And like I say, we see this extended scene where you see newspaper clippings and newsreel footage and what have you. They play the Grand Canyon, which is actually referenced in the third movie, but it's retconned a bit. It's like they had this moment of fame, and then they were sort of one-hit wonders or whatever, and could never recapture the magic. And it's never explicitly said that they didn't bring peace to the Mideast and do all this other good stuff, but it's sort of implied that they didn't really do what they were destined to do. And they're still searching for this. At this point, they're still searching for this one great song that's supposed to unite everything, which I don't specifically remember being mentioned in the first movies as it being a single song, but that's sort of the conceit of the third movie, is that they have to play this one great song that's going to unite the world at this specific time in this specific location. And again, you have to have people coming back from the future to come help them do it, which brings up all sorts of questions about time travel, and like, it must be like a continuum or all happening at the same time, so Carlin must have always gone back in time to help them, and in the second movie he must have always gone back in time and put him in the Battle of the Bands, but yet this must have always occurred for them to be able to go back and set this up. So I don't know, we can get into the time travel issues either later this episode or on a whole other episode, because we can, I've always wanted to talk about like the time travel inconsistencies in Back to the Future. But the first two movies I think pretty much do a good job of maintaining consistency when it comes to time travel, except for one issue. Which is that George Carlin, as Rufus points out in the first movie, that no matter how much time they spend in time, the clocks in their version of San Dimas, in their hometown, are always going to run like normal. So they spend 6 hours in the future, they've lost 6 hours of their real life. So they'll come back 6 hours later.
Okay.
But even in the first movie, they come back to a previous version of San Dimas because they dialed the wrong number. They have to dial like an extra number to go to the present time. So that seems a little confusing. And then at the end, they still don't really know how to play their instrument. So they time travel away and spend, 16 months?
Something like that, I believe.
Yeah, 16 months learning to play and getting married and having kids. And then they come right back to that exact moment to play the Battle of the Bands, which shouldn't the clocks have run, so shouldn't it be 16 months later in San Dimas? But then again, the first one they were able to go back to, so I don't know. That's the only real issue. Like, I mean, again, you can look and say...
They've got to edit something out.
You can look at it and say, oh, the science isn't right there. But, I mean, it's all theoretical. And to me, whether there's real theory of it or not, if you're going to create something in a fantasy world, which this is, it's a movie, it's a fantasy world, just stick to your rules. You know, whether it's magic or the Force or time travel, whatever else, establish rules for it, and they can be, real tight, very detailed rules, or they can be just, loosey-goosey, but whatever you establish, just stick to it. And that's all I ask for from any kind of movie that has this kind of a concept in it. And I think the first two movies do that really well. I think the third movie deviates from it greatly.
Yeah.
They get into quantum theory and multiple realities, which is not something we saw in the first movies at all. Mm-hmm. And it's never really satisfactorily tied together. But even that is not my biggest complaint. My biggest complaint, again, is that they sort of retconned. They'd gotten where they needed to be at the end of the first one, and now all of a sudden they're not.
Second one.
Yeah,
at the end of the second one, I'm sorry. The first two movies, which are sort of like their own little pair, and then you have this one.
Yeah.
So movie 3 wasn't really needed, technically.
No. But I mean, it's fine. I'm happy to see a third movie, and whatever you come up with, I'm good. I'm going to go along with the ride.
It's a money off nostalgia.
I just wish it could have followed up a little better on the second one. I mean, you kind of almost need alternate realities to make it work.
Yeah.
Because they did what they were supposed to do at the end of the second one, but
at the same time, everything in the movie still needs to happen for the song thing. So it's like
you're talking about the third movie again. Yeah. They're blocked musically. They have writer's block. They can't. I mean, they can make decent songs, but they haven't been able to get this one perfect song, and so they decide. They get their hands onto the time machine. We'll get into that in a minute, but they decide to go forward.
Well, I believe it's the same time machine that they used in the first two.
Oh, that's right. Well, so they get their hands on a time machine.
Yeah.
And they end up let's take it back for a minute. I guess we're going to get into it. Another representative from the Future Society comes back to see him. In this case, it's Rufus's daughter, because of course in real life George Carlin has passed away since the other movies were made. So in the movie, it's his daughter that comes back to see them. And I think it's interesting that she's named Kelly, because George Carlin's real daughter is named Kelly, and she has a credit on the movie. I don't think she was one of the principal writers, but she has a credit on the movie. So it does make me sort of feel like, why didn't she just play the daughter? Would have been kind of perfect, but maybe she didn't want to either. Yeah. So but I gotta feel like the character's named Kelly in homage to her at the very least. And it is Kristen Schaal who plays her, who plays Mabel in Gravity Falls.
I noticed that,
and she's totally fine in the role.
Grappling hook.
She doesn't have a huge part, really. I mean, Rufus doesn't, other than being a catalyst for the plot as far as actual screen time. their characters don't have a ton of screen time, and she's fine with what she has. But it's hard as a Gravity Falls fan to not hear Mabel in her voice. I always assumed the person doing the voice of Mabel was affecting that voice, but that's really her voice. I mean, maybe it's turned up a little bit for Mabel, but not much.
All I could hear was Mabel.
Either that, or she's just really using the Mabel voice for this performance, because it's definitely Mabel in that voice. But she's totally fine in the role. I'm not saying she should have been replaced. It's just weird that Karn has an actual daughter and they named this character after her. But
is it weird or neat?
What?
The name daughter situation that you just said.
It's neat if it really is a tribute to her. It's weird if it's not.
Nice.
And like I say, I'm sure she could have handled the role. I don't think she's really an actress. I think she's a writer. And I'm sure she could have pulled off the role if she had wanted to. But again, I don't know that she would have wanted to.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume that maybe she didn't, especially since she did somehow work on the film. And I guess the name is a tribute to her. But anyway, this character, Kelly, goes back in time because somehow in the future they're seeing what's going on at that exact time. Like, hey, they're heading toward... If they don't perform the song at this exact time, everything's going to fall apart here. And we can see them about to not do that, even though they had to have done it for our society to even exist in the first place. So then you get the idea of parallel realities, but then again, why would one reality affect another one? So that's...
I just want to say that society and all that, it made me think of Good Omens.
Alright, I haven't seen that.
Good Omens has nothing to do with time travel, but it just made me think of the angel situation thing that they have.
I will say, Keanu Reeves in an interview we saw did say they had an actual quantum physicist or someone versed in quantum theory as a consultant on the movie. So I'm sure what they did within the scope of this movie lines up to real theories.
Yeah.
But it doesn't line up super well with what we saw in the previous two movies.
They tried to get too real with it.
And they didn't properly explain again why are they seeing... I mean, they did explain that everything's basically happening at the same time.
Yeah.
Which I understand that concept to a degree, but then again it brings up other questions like, so do you affect one reality? Do you create branch timelines when you change things? And also, the point is, she goes back and gets Bill and Ted, she brings them back to the future so they can finally write the song and go back to their time, presumably, and play it at the right time. But they can't figure out how to write the song. They've been trying for 20 years and never been able to do it. So they steal the time machine that they originally used, and they decide to go back in time to what would actually be future versions of themselves for them.
Yeah.
And just get the song from them. But the future version of themselves they find never wrote the song. And they have increasingly bad lives. Their wives leave them. They're playing in a dive bar. They're in prison.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Bill and Ted almost cause future... Well, they don't cause them. Future Bill and Ted have broken into Dave Grohl's house. And it's during that interaction that they apparently get caught and end up going to prison.
Yeah.
And then they finally find old versions of themselves, like in a nursing home toward the end of their lives. And that's when they finally get the song from them. Which leads you to believe they had to go through all that other stuff to write the song. But now they've done the song and performed it well. Why would they be in the dive bar struggling? And why would they try
We don't know why they end up there. They just end up there.
So again, are we talking multiple realities affecting current ones? And can you change your current reality, thereby changing the future? But there's also realities existing where you didn't change things. And so are they not just time traveling, but also dimension traveling?
Who knows?
They're probably dimension traveling.
What was it? Oh, but there's also the subplot where when they go to the first future versions of themselves and they say, you know, your wives left you, and the future version of them came back to get them to try to find, in their words, a reality. I don't know if they originally say a timeline or a reality, but later on they say this reality, but a reality where they're happy with you.
Yeah.
And Bill and Ted go back in time to talk to them, and they realize, no, you do have to go with them. You do have to leave us to set this all in motion, which backs up the idea that everything has to happen. But at the same time, their wives are still with them on their deathbeds and then choose to go back. And it's like, why are they choosing to go back? When did they leave them? When did they come back? And also at the end of this movie, when they finally do play the song, their current wives are back with them. Like, we realize we're happy in this reality. So if their wives were with them, when did they leave them? Because the future Bill and Ted said that they left them originally when the future version of them went back. And it all gets to be too much if you think about it too hard. Yeah. I mean, there may be a really good logical explanation, but it's not contained within the movie.
That's why you're not supposed to think about it.
Yeah,
that's fair enough. Because I don't think, you know, they're meant, especially the original ones. That's back in the '80s. Nobody sat there and dissected films the way we do now on the internet.
Yeah,
precisely.
I actually think, I don't know.
You don't know what you think at this point.
No, I know what I think. I no. If you think too much about it, it certainly can.
Definitely.
But I don't know. I think you're kind of right in what you said. Not they went too real, but they chose to try it because, of course, this is not hot topics, but it's something in the modern conversation now with people looking at quantum theory and multiple realities and parallel dimensions. And so I think they almost tried to be too real with it. It's like, just go back to the made-up shit we did. Let's not even base on anything real. Yeah. And I think it would have worked.
Like in the 80s, they just went with whatever. Now they're trying to mix in what's
It would have worked better in service to the original films. As a standalone film, I mean, it works fine, I guess. But even as a standalone film, I still look at it a little bit in the way. Because again, like I say, all this stuff had to happen for them to end up writing the song the way they did. But then the girls are back with him, and everything seemed like it's going to be good. So why would they go through all that stuff? It's really weird.
Okay, I just want to say...
Unless the future versions of them are faking all of it.
Honestly, really who knows?
Weird. Why would they ever do that in the first place? Because they lived it. Because it's all happening at one time, so they know they have to do it. But then how do they get into the prison? And
what's with the... where's the daughters and stuff with the future?
Their daughters?
Yeah.
Good. Well, yeah, they're
never mentioned.
They're never mentioned. But I mean, they already exist. They're teenagers by the time they start going forward and seeing it. So I mean, we know they're there. But yeah, they don't say whatever happens to them. That's another slight plot hole.
Is it necessary to say what happened to them, though?
It's a weird that's not mentioned.
Well, it is kind of weird since it turns out they're linchpins of the song being performed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not fair to say they necessarily wrote the song because it's more of a piece of performance art where they and a bunch of other musicians sort of work together. They're more like the conductors of it.
Yeah.
Than the actual writers. And it's not necessarily a song that was set out and written out. But it turns out that's like the big twist. Oh, Bill, we're supposed to be the backup band for our daughters. They're the Preston and Logan, which also brings into question, why is the Future Society based on Bill and Ted? Uh-huh. I mean, to be fair, they're part of the band that did play the song. Yeah. So I mean, maybe it's still mainly them, even if their daughters were part of their group, and we just didn't, they just
it's from when they
first
did it in the second movie.
But it also makes me think: is there a little bit of mythology about it, where like the Future Society is 700 years after the 80s. That's what they say in the first movie. So 700 years later. So is there a bit of where they sort of lost the thread of reality and they have just pieces of history? And it's sort of Christ-like, where it's like we know there are some elements of truth here and we build a mythology around them.
Probably.
That seems somewhat logical, except that even by the 80s...
Bill and Ted, oh God.
Even by the 80s, the ability to record history... is a lot better than it was 2,000 years ago.
The thing is...
Now, I mean, I get it can still be manipulated, things can still be lost and misconstrued.
But
you would think there'd be a clearer picture of what happened.
I want to say, wow, recording history, 80s, and even current day, is great, especially compared to what it used to be. 700 years from the future now.
700.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You said 1,700.
I thought I said 700.
You said 700.
I felt as though I stumbled at some point. But anyway, 700 years in the future, would it really still be all that good? Because, I mean, 700 years ago, recording history wasn't that good.
Well, we would think technology would improve and you would, like...
Well, yeah,
like all of our books are now available in...
Well, yeah, the technology is improving, but because of that, recording history 80s style is kind of crap.
But I mean...
Exactly, it kind of gets lost and a little messed up over
we don't have a fair comparison, because obviously 700 years ago, we didn't have the means to record things that we do now. So...
And we had
it's tough to say one way, but you would think it would improve and it'd be easier to keep the thread consistent. But then again, somebody could intentionally manipulate. We've certainly seen history change. The history's written by the winners. So I mean, there's all kind of ways you can go with it. And again, I don't think the movies were ever meant to have this super hard this super locked in canon. And it's all about this deep detail. It's more about just a good time. And there's a loose narrative running through it. And the third movie, I think, continues with that. In fact, I think Dylan has the best comment about it, and the third movie is really sort of like a mashup of the first two.
Nice.
And so to me, it's kind of like you got Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, then Bill and Ted's pretty good reboot. That's sort of what the third one is to me.
Nice. I did want to say, I was trying to say before Dylan brought up that they didn't really get mentioned in the future and whatnot. I did enjoy the kids in the movie.
Yeah, they were great, and I mean, it's not even the future society, but just the future iterations of Bill and Ted. They talk about their wives not being there or coming back or whatever. They don't talk about the girl. But I mean, to be fair, the girls, I mean, even they went 2 years ahead, so the girls would be pretty close to being adults. I think they're like 16 in the movie.
Nice.
So I mean, it's not like they would have to be a part of their lives. They could be off doing their own thing. They're just not relevant to the story. But you're right. It is weird that they weren't mentioned at all.
Maybe slightly weird. But if they wouldn't,
but that's the whole thing. Kind of goes back to what I was saying too. Is it's not about this real deep mythos. It's about just a fun time, and so we're gonna leave some loose threads.
Yeah, they're saving space for the fourth movie when they need to make some more money.
I don't necessarily think this was just a cash grab. I think some of it is just creative. Hey, let's get back together and do something fun. It's not. I mean, it's been talked about for a long time. It's not like it was just, oh, hey, there's a new Bill and Ted movie coming out. It's one of those things where you hear about it periodically for years and years, and then it finally sees the light of day or doesn't.
Do you think somebody has ever purposely decided to make like a sequel to a movie, but do it years later just so that they can, as like a marketing almost the kind of thing, they can just bring it up every few years, like, hey, we might do this, and then finally they actually do it when they plan to do it so many years later?
I guess it's possible, but nothing jumps out to me as like an example of that.
Yeah. Somebody should do that.
It's gonna be my movie series.
Wait, just make a movie and then plan to do the sequel like 20 years later.
Like we've seen movies.
Hope nobody dies.
Sequelized later.
You'll have backup scripts in case people die.
You think about like the Star Wars trilogies, the time between them, or like Clerks and Clerks 2 with Kevin, or even more so the Jay and Silent Bob movies, because there's about 20 years in between them.
Yeah.
And then,
but none of those were
Ted.
Intentional.
No, I don't think any of it was. I don't think any of these cases were intentional. I mean,
That's my thing. Like, I
guess Star Wars, you could argue to a degree it was intentional, because like George Lucas said, I'm not going to make any more for a while, and then decide. But I don't think he did it with the intention of I'm not going to make any more, but I'm definitely going to make more 20 years later.
Yeah, like that's my thing. Let's make a movie.
It's like the door was always open. Like I may well do this, but I'm not going to commit to it. And then it's like, okay, the time's right. I want to do this.
Like somebody, we should make a movie and decide, like very intentionally, not do a sequel until years later, so that every few years we can bring it up and just have like the headline like this might be happening, but then it doesn't happen until finally 20 years later when we plan for it to happen. And it's like, yeah, no, that was just a marketing scheme for the last 20 years, you guys. Exactly, just sitting here like marketing.
Well, you're committing a lot to thinking that your first movie is going to be a big enough hit and beloved enough that people are going to wait around and want to hear news of a potential sequel.
I mean, yeah, you should probably just toss the idea out if it's not successful enough. But if you have a successful movie, like that's the plan as long as the movie's successful. But I mean, if the movie's not successful, we probably weren't going to do a sequel anyway, so. Unless we were under some sort of contract that said we had to. And then that would have flopped miserably.
Yeah.
So what are the takeaways with her from Bill and Ted 3?
I like the robot.
Oh, the robot was the man. I mean, it was. I was happy to see Death back. I mean, I knew it was from the trailer. William Sadler, and I didn't realize until actually watching this movie that that's Haywood from Shawshank Redemption, one of my all-time favorite movies. Even having watched Bill and Ted in the 80s and 90s, I never realized that was him. I knew he had, and this is only after having seen Shawshank and going back and watching Bill and Ted 2. I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to say Bill and Ted 2 and Bill and Ted 3 because it's shorter than saying the full titles.
Yeah.
I know he has a very short role or short appearance in that, not post-credit, but that post-story montage we talk about where you see sort of what Bill and Ted's music are able to do for the world as like a British dad or British husband. He and his wife, they're like cheering them on in their house. And I'm like, oh, hey, that's Haywood from Shawshank Redemption.
Nice.
And then in the credits you see William Sadler has a fairly high placement. I'm like, wow, that's a pretty high placement for just a cameo there. And then I finally realized, oh my god, he played Death. And I mean, it's like, he's in, he's got the Voldemort-like makeup and he's speaking with that weird Swedish accent, so I mean, I wouldn't recognize him as him, but
yeah,
it just dawned on me, one of the most memorable characters from one of my favorite movies is playing another very memorable character from movies that were a big part of my childhood.
Nice.
And he steals the show in the second movie, flat out. The scene where they're going up to heaven and he's dressed up in like the bonnet and the apron, and they're trying to say wise words to St. Peter to get let in, and they do lines from Every Rose Has Its Thorn, and he puts on like a high voice and Every Rose Has Its Thorn. Oh my god, that cracked me up so much seeing that again. But yeah, the robot kind of steals the show from him in this movie. Death's still good. I mean, he doesn't have a very large role in the movie. What he has is good, and he has some interactions with the robot. But the robot's like he's the unintentional star of this movie. Does anybody remember what his name was? Like Deacon Caleb or something.
Something like that.
I have no idea.
But it starts out he's just like a killer cyborg, or just a killer robot going back to kill Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
And then he makes a mistake and he has to kind of own up to it, and then he starts getting this sort of this whiny, insecure personality. And Dennis, he's fantastic.
Dennis Caleb McCoy.
There you go. I knew Caleb was in there. He steals the show. It's worth watching just for his stuff, and especially like the way he starts out as this menacing, silent killer, and then he becomes this sort of hey, I want to be part of the band too. He's great. He's fantastic. Like I said, I would watch the movie just for Dennis if you haven't seen it yet.
Do you need a Dennis spinoff? Like a TV series, a streaming series.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like I say, he steals every scene he's in, especially, like I say, once he gets out from under the silent killer persona.
Yeah. So, what else about the movie? I haven't.
You already mentioned that the daughters they're good, and it's fun because when you first see them, it seems like they're going to be sort of obviously they're in the 2000s, but sort of that Shaw bro kind of dense 80s dudes like their dads.
Yeah.
But then you find they have a lot more going on, and that's just sort of on the surface.
Yeah, that was one thing. Like when they first
they're father's daughters,
God
but they've taken it even further.
They're just daughters of they're just.
They go on like the again. Bill and Ted One Joy where they gather up.
And they go through, and we get to see Jimi Hendrix and Louis Armstrong and Mozart or Beethoven.
No, it was Mozart.
It's Mozart. It's Beethoven in the first movie.
Yeah.
And they find an Asian flute player who I think is just made up for the movie, and I'm sure the Neanderthal drummer is just made up for the movie. I don't know if there's any record of
no, probably not.
Neanderthal drummer.
Probably not.
But they bring them back, and then Kid Cudi gets into it for a while through the temporal openings, because apparently Bill and Ted not having written the song yet is causing all this crazy stuff to go on where different historical figures and locations are popping up in other time periods that they shouldn't, and through Kid Cudi shows up, and he sort of helps them through the quantum theory for a bit, and then he plays with the band for a minute, but then he has to go back when everything starts getting settled. So that's kind of fun.
Things randomly appearing have to happen for the song to happen?
There you go. That's back to that issue. Like, I don't understand how that all works. Like, I get the idea of, time periods all sort of happen. Either time being a continuum where everything that happens and it loops back around and happens again, and that's how everything works. Or the idea of everything happening at once. So what's happening now, what happened 2,000 years ago is happening at the same time, sort of. Not at the same time necessarily, but time just being a dimension. It's still happening parallel to each other or within the same space, even though you can't necessarily touch that other time period. But I still don't get how, because you would think you go back to that time as a continuum theory where this stuff has to happen for it to all happen, but there's instances of where it looks like it's not going to happen. So then you get into the sort of branching timeline theories that you see in Avengers Endgame, for example.
It's like it's somehow both.
And so it seems like it has different, and I don't know how it all ties together, and I don't think the movie does an adequate job of explaining that. But again, to go back to it, I don't think that's the point either.
Yeah.
I mean, we just want to tell a fun story with these characters and sort of, give you what you had in the first movies, but update it for a modern audience and go beyond what the first two movies did, because again, it's 30 years later, and we need to see where these characters have gotten to, even if it's not where they should be at when you see how the second movie ended. And again, you just put too much thought into it, and you sort of ruin the experience. If you just take it for what it is and just enjoy it as a ride, it's fine. It's good. It's well done.
Movies are better when you don't think about it.
As a one-time movie,
life is better when you don't think
doesn't
about
follow. Like it follows some rules of time travel, then follows completely different rules. So depending on what's convenient. Just to troll the internet.
I mean, you could do that too. If that's what you establish, that there really are no rules, I'm fine with it. Or, I mean, if you're just going to be...
at the end of the movie,
if you're just going to be anarchist and silly for the point of being silly, that's fine too. But I mean, I'm saying you could even make that work within a world if you're like, hey, there's no real rules, we don't understand how this works, we just do it. And so, you could totally pull that off.
No, what you do is you do exactly what you said, right? That there's pretty much no rules, but you don't establish that actually in the movie. You wait and you do like a post-credit scene or something, but it's just like some of the characters just sitting around, or maybe somebody who wasn't really in the movie, and some of the characters from the movie, and it's like, there's no fucking rules here, guys. But you do that specifically because some people are going to miss that.
Speaking of post-credit scenes, there was one for this movie.
There was.
And it didn't really mean anything, but it was a fun little bit. We got to go back and see old Bill and Ted again in the nursing home, and they rock out together one last time.
Yeah.
It was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know exactly, were the princesses still there? Was this the future Bill and Ted that we just saw travel through time? Is it the other Bill and Ted that we visited? How do they all connect? I don't know. Think about it too hard, it just doesn't work. If you just sit back and enjoy the ride. Yeah. Well, I don't turn off your brain. I don't like that expression, because I mean, you still got to pay attention and still think and feel and experience.
Okay, turn off like half your brain.
But I would definitely give the movie a thumbs up. Is that if you're a fan of the first two, I think you'll enjoy it. And I think you can go into it. Well, Lexi, you went into it cold. What did you think of the movie? I mean, did it work for you?
Yeah, like I said, it was a good movie.
So, I mean, nothing great, but definitely a fun way to spend a couple hours, especially when there's not much else to do.
So I was looking it up. The I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. The other musician, not the Neanderthal, but the other
flute
one.
Player.
Yes,
It was an actual historical character.
Kind
sort
of
of based on one.
It's from Chinese mythology, legends, that
Okay,
stuff.
well there you go. Yeah.
Real, but not exactly necessarily
Mythical.
real. Yeah.
And not Rhett and Link.
They're said to have created the bamboo flute.
But ironically, her name was Rhett and Link. There's just no connection there, though.
Whoa. Which made the sounds of many birds, including the mythical phoenix.
Yeah, Phoenix.
So, a mythical figure who created a bamboo flute that made the noise of a mythical figure.
Yes.
It's meta.
It's awesome. Also, supposedly in that way, also invented the 5 notes of the 5-tone scale in ancient Chinese.
Like the 5-finger death punch?
What?
I'm just kidding. 5 notes kind of sounds like a 50s doo-wop band or something.
Well, the 5 notes is equivalent to the do re mi, so and la.
The 5 notes on there too.
La, ti, do. That's like 8 notes.
They don't have all 8. They just have those ones
The
that I just
5
said.
notes
Do
are
re
required
so.
You had to start
Do re mi, so and la.
You had to start with the 5 and then you get to the 8. Here's the building block.
Need the 5 notes to power the
Once
music.
they skipped
gauntlet.
fa.
Who wants to skip fa? Or does that mean they were just skipping very far and then we skipped fa? Well, I think we lost a note somewhere. Fuck it, we don't need it. It's not even funny.
But it is if you think about it.
Stupid is funny sometimes.
Welcome to 2020. We like dumb shit.
I've always liked dumb shit.
They
We've
clearly like
only
dumb shit in the
existed in the
80s because that's the
2000s,
world
so.
Bill and Ted was born out of.
True.
Not just, I'm not dissing
Bill and
movies.
Ted
I
is
like
the 2020 mood. That's the Gen Z mood.
Yeah.
So anybody
Bill and Ted created Gen Z. That's what those
anybody got
adventures
any
did.
more analysis of the movie they want to give or any highlights or lowlights they want to point out? I think I pretty much touched on anything I
Not that I can think of.
had to say. Should we give a rating for the movie? Wait, don't just give a rating.
I was gonna say.
I'm like, should we give a rating for the movie? It's like, I'm gonna give it a rating now, and not even say, yeah, we should give it a rating or not.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Well, fine then. What you want to rate it then?
Maybe 8.
Let's think about an 8.
I'm gonna give it a stylish and ripped up pair of jeans out of 10. I mean, it's cool. I dig it, but I like the original version of it better, and there are some big holes in it.
Yeah.
I like this situation, but I have some questions.
I used to wear ripped up jeans in the 80s.
It's like all I wear.
And now they're like a
If
big
I wear
thing now.
jeans.
And now people pay like $800 for a
I
pair
wear
of jeans.
shorts.
that have been
I would
ripped up.
not pay $800
I used to just take a
for
pair
that.
of $20 jeans and cut them up myself, and it worked a lot better.
Just make some cuts and take some sandpaper to it. Pull out a few threads. Mine were bought though for like $30.
Yeah, I might have exaggerated. I'm sure there's a pair of $800 ripped up jeans.
There
out
probably is. It's probably new.
Pure goals.
But I mean, you could go to Walmart and get a pair of jeans for like
Pure gold
I don't
ripped
like
up
Walmart
jeans.
jeans. I'm yet to find a pair.
You
of jeans
go
that
someplace
I
you find a
like.
pair of jeans that fits you the way you like. Wear them for a while, and then when they start to wear out, then cut the holes in them.
See, the only jeans that I found that I like are the $30 whipped up jeans I bought.
I used to have a pair of jeans that no lie. I mean I just had like horizontal slits in each leg, just starting really right up at the top of my hip and like just all the way down. I used to have wear like bicycle shorts under them because otherwise I'd just be naked. Well, I mean I have underwear, but I didn't want to show my. I'd wear
Something just hangs out
I did wear like
from the
bicycle
holes from
shorts
it.
or like spandex leggings like you'd work out in or something. That's what I'd wear under those jeans.
Nice. Let's see. I found some for $5.95, $6.95. Those aren't even ripped.
So you said you found that list a little while ago.
Yes, I did.
When we had to take a
Other
pause for a
things I
second.
found online.
Pull it up. Why don't we go over it really quick
Alright,
to
I've
finish
got it
off
right
this
here.
episode? Alright, so what do you want to do? You just want to read it and we'll just check in with whether or not we've seen it?
Sure.
How many movies are on it total?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Looks like about 12 times 3, which is 36.
And what is this, just 80s movie? Like
Yes,
quintessential
just 80s
movies?
And
Alright.
we also had 36 and 7.
I'm also going to see if there's anything missing from the list that I think should be on there, but go ahead.
Alright, Pretty in Pink.
I haven't seen. It's a John Hughes movie. I don't think I've seen any John Hughes movies.
Right, The Breakfast Club.
Well, no, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I have not seen The Breakfast Club. Your mother loves
I'm
that movie.
shocked.
Nah, it's not.
I thought you had.
That might be another John Hughes movie. It's definitely the same sort of cast of actors and actresses.
Nice.
How do you feel about that, by the way? You're into pronouns. Do you like to go actors and actresses, or just actor for everybody? I mean, I hear it both ways, and I'm fine either way. Whatever makes you comfortable. Well, it change. Your opinion of it changes.
Oh no, I mean, I'm just kind of fine with whatever. In general, I kind of say actors, actresses. If I am talking about a large group, I usually just say actors.
I usually just say actors when I'm talking about a specific person.
Yeah.
I may gender differentiate and call them an actor or an actress.
Yeah.
I don't usually say actors and actresses. I felt the need to do it there for whatever reason, but usually actors is gender neutral to me.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that's gender neutral. Now, of course, if there's a non-binary actor that I'm referring to, I will make sure to use whatever one they've established they prefer. But in general, I will.
But if you're non-binary, you almost have to be actor.
I mean, you could go actress if you're comfortable with it, though.
But
actress specifically mean female actor?
Yeah.
Yeah, but some non-binary
So then if you choose to be
actress,
actress, you're establishing, a preference of a binary.
Yeah. That's like saying.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let's just
Let's
get back.
continue. Look, gender that's a different topic. The Goonies.
Oh yeah, I saw Goonies in the theater. And I
Alright.
always waited for the sequel. There was like a story about a mermaid, and they were like going to film it in North Carolina, and there was even a video game based on the plot, but I don't think they ever made the movie.
Nice to know.
It's Robert Zemeckis, the guy who
I'm still waiting for the
directed
sequel
Forrest
today.
I mean,
How long has it been?
Unless they were going to be.
Fuck.
Unless they were going to be the characters as grown-ups, obviously they'd have to cast different characters if they want to continue in the same timeline, but I'd totally go watch it.
I just want to say, I asked how long it's been, and I started doing... I was going to say a random number, but I wanted it to be realistic.
86, 87.
I wanted it to be realistically, so I did the math of how long it's been since the 80s, and I regret doing the math.
Wait, no, let me tell you. In the Goonies cast, you
forgot
have...
how old you
No,
were.
in the Goonies cast, you have Sam from Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
He's one of the kids. Corey Feldman, who played one of the Poe brothers in Lost Boys and was in Stand By Me and every other thing in the 80s. And Corey Feldman was literally my favorite
Was
actor
he in
in
the
the
Breakfast
80s.
Club and all
Yeah,
that?
but he was not. I said every other thing. And Thanos.
Oh, damn.
Josh Brolin is Samwise Gamgee's older brother in Goonies.
Thanos is Sam's older brother.
Yep.
Nice to know. Sorry, Sam.
So yeah. Anyway, continue on.
Everybody keep track of how many of these you've seen.
Well,
so that we know
crap,
how many
okay.
later
Hold
on.
on.
Yeah, one.
Man, I'm in a great number.
Yeah, me and Donut's currently at 0.
All right. I think that'll continue. I think it may continue for a while, but I think you'll add to it. The
I
number
think
will-
we're
the
about
number
to
will-
add to it.
The number will
Yeah, I know
grow,
we're
is
about
what I was saying.
The next one is Short Circuit.
Yeah,
We've all
We've
seen that. Next one is Weird Science.
I have no idea what it
Me
is.
neither.
I watched the TV series based on it. I never saw the movie,
Okay. Next is The Lost Boys.
of course.
Yes. Better Off Dead.
I have no idea what that is.
Me neither. That's why I keep looking at Maddie.
I would have to check that one. I've definitely heard of it.
You've heard of it.
I can't place it right off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
I have an idea of what movie it is,
Uh-huh.
but let me double check.
There's a few of these that obviously
Better
we
Off
know
is John
of.
Cusack.
That
No,
you've
I haven't. I
probably
haven't seen that one. Okay,
At least I have.
I have heard of
Don't
it, but
even
no, I
have.
definitely haven't seen it.
Alright, well after that one is Trading Places.
Oh fuck yeah! Maybe the best comedy of the '80s. Eddie Murphy
I
and
don't
Dan
know what it
Aykroyd
is.
in their prime. It's fantastic. That was one of your grandfather's favorite movies.
That's cool.
You should probably sit down and watch it. It's great.
Well-
Love Trading Places.
Nice. After that is Gremlins.
Of course.
I've seen the
Although to
second
be
one.
fair, I think I've seen it like
This
once.
is the first one.
I've seen the second one
Yeah.
way more, which is probably technically a '90s movie, maybe '89.
I've never seen the
Gremlins has
first
the
one.
guy
only
I
the
like.
I want
second
to say it's like '89. Gizmo.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've definitely seen Gremlins.
I've never
I may
seen
have-
Gremlins.
May have seen Gremlins in the
I
theater.
just like Gizmo.
Definitely seen it, but I prefer the second one. I like the sort of horror comedy much more than just a straight up horror movie. And for the record,
Wait, Gremlins is her?
Gremlins is not a Christmas movie. It takes place at Christmas time, but it is not a Christmas movie. That's my
Gremlins is
opinion.
her.
Mhm.
God damn it. Explains why I haven't seen it.
Okay, continue.
Alright, next is E.T.
First movie I ever saw in a theater. Not that I remember it, but I've been
Next
told.
time.
I fell
I think I've
asleep
seen
during
E.T.
it.
I definitely haven't.
Probably, I've
Pretty
never
sure.
watched it with you guys, so
Pretty sure I've never seen it.
Alright.
I mean, I've seen like clips of it, but
Yeah,
I've never
like I
actually seen
know one of the scenes, but I haven't actually seen it. Actually, it may have been put on in school one day, but I don't have clear enough memory to say that, so I'm going to
I think I
say
saw
I've never
like
seen it.
near the end of it on TV once.
I think I saw near the
something.
beginning is the scene that I know.
Oh.
Anyway, continuing on. Next one is Friday the 13th.
Yes, I've seen
Never
it.
seen it.
You've seen it. I'm
I've
shocked.
seen probably like the first 8 Friday the 13th.
How many are there?
Why have you seen the first 8? I don't.
10, 11, 12.
13. Are there 13?
I don't know if there's 13 actual
Oh no,
Friday
I
the
know
13th
Jason
movies,
Goes to Space.
but there's also like Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
A couple of those that are crossovers with the Nightmare on
Yeah,
Elm
wait,
Street.
the
Friday
one where he
13th.
goes to space.
If there's,
Yeah,
let's make it.
yeah,
Damn,
there is,
there
there
is.
absolutely is.
Let's make a
I thought
hook.
so.
Let's make a
And you know,
hook.
interesting
Murders
here,
in
y'all know
space.
the first one. Jason's not the killer; it's his mother who's
Yeah.
the killer. Jason died because the camp counselors were too busy fucking to see him drowning or whatever, and then it's his mother going around killing everybody. And then, like the very end, there's like a little teaser of, oh, Jason's come back to life under the water or something, and then Jason becomes the killer. I think there's a tease for that. Then Jason takes over as the killer in the second movie.
Yeah, and all.
Nice to know.
And never freaking dies.
Well, he dies; he just comes back.
He dies as much as freaking.
He's immune.
No, I was never
the
a-
killer in Halloween.
I've never been a big horror movie fan, but a friend of mine was a big horror movie fan, so I watched them with him. And I mean, I'm a movie fan too. You know, I'll watch just about anything
I
if
will
I've got somebody.
I prefer sleep.
If I've got somebody who's into it with me, I'm like, yeah, I'll check it out with you.
Say I for sleep.
But yeah,
Yes.
I did go through a brief phase where I was sort of into those movies. And
I like my
I
sleep
was
too
into
much
reading
to watch
Fangoria
her.
magazine and stuff. But yeah.
Horror movies.
If I watch her, I'm not sleeping.
And I mean, to be fair, these are more like slasher films, which is sort of a subgenre of horror, you know? Because, I mean, you look at, like, Dracula's a horror movie, or, like I say, Gremlins is a horror movie, or It is a type of horror movie. So, I mean, there's different
Somehow
levels
I
of
got
horror.
through
It's like I can watch her moves, but her games. Nope, I'm out.
All right, continue the list, because we're
No,
we're running long.
games.
I've got
Alright,
to
next-
do knife
what?
now.
Horror games?
Totally.
Welcome to the 10th annual horror games.
I've gone to the.
They're gonna get slutty tonight.
FNAF. Never passed the night.
Nice. Next one is Risky Business.
Tom,
Never
no,
seen
I
it.
haven't seen it. That's Risky Business. That's the famous scene where Tom Cruise slides into the scene with his button-up shirt and his tighty whities on. He's dancing to old-time rock and roll. But no, I've never actually
Oh,
seen
that's
it.
that movie?
It is.
Nice to know. I mean, I
so
still haven't seen it,
confused.
but nice to know.
I'm so confused.
Next one, Steel Magnolias.
Yes.
Nice to know. Beverly Hills Cop.
Yes.
Okay.
That's one of the Eddie Murphy movies I was talking about. There was about 3 of those too,
Nice. Lethal Weapon.
of course.
The Evil Dead.
Seminal 80s horror, not horror movie. Evil Dead's a horror movie, sort of horror comedy, but action movie. Lethal
Yeah.
Weapon, of course,
Alright.
and mini sequels as well. No, I've never seen Evil Dead.
Alright. Next.
Wait one second. What have we done? What are the last few movies we've done since Friday the 13th? What have we done?
Since Friday the 13th was Risky Business, Steel Magnolias, Beverly Hills Cop, Lethal Weapon, and The Evil Dead.
Let me see the list real quick.
Okay.
I just want to make sure. I
You have to
just
sit
want to make sure I'm keeping up with, because I've seen. You want to know how many we've seen?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, I'm up to 10 right now.
Alright. Next one is...
I'm trying to keep track, but I'm also trying to be entertaining as well. So
Alright, next one is Raging Bull.
no.
Raging Bill.
Robert De Niro boxing movie. That I want to say.
The version where Ted dies.
I do know the movie.
And Ted does die.
What's his name?
He doesn't come back or anything. There's no time traveling in this version. He's just dead, and now it's a
Well,
horror
they don't come
movie.
back because of time travel. You need to see the second movie.
Yes, I do. Anyway,
Technically, Bill dies.
in this version,
They
Ted
all
has
died in
died.
the third one.
Yeah.
Ted has died, and it's now a horror movie. Bill's going around killing people as revenge. I don't know what
Hey,
happened.
Go on.
Broadcast news.
No.
Aliens.
Yes,
I would
it's
hope
actually
so.
Aliens. Well, I guess Alien was Alien 70s, because Alien was the first one. There was just one alien, and then the sequel is Aliens are dealing with multiple. And I'm thinking the first one might actually be 70s.
I have no idea. This says aliens.
I've seen the first 3 Alien movies.
Alright, I would hope you've seen this one since we were just talking about it. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
I've seen that
Of
too.
course.
Alright. Keep track of how many you've seen. Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
I
No.
have no idea what that
From
is.
that was one of the first movies Cameron Crowe wrote, and I think he actually sort of went undercover as like a high school student when he was like 19
Nice.
to sort of get the basis for that. I may be off on that, but that's one of Cameron Crowe's first movies, featuring Sean Penn as Spicoli. But no, I've never seen it.
Right, next, Rook and Go.
Yes,
Nice. Can't Buy Me Love.
yes. Disappointed in that movie. I didn't like it as much as I thought I was going to.
I'm sorry. This next movie, I have no idea if I'd actually be into the movie itself, but I love the title of it. Mystic Pizza.
I haven't. That was one of Julia Roberts. Julia Robertson, was Brad Pitt in that too? Maybe not. But I want to say that's one of Julia Roberts' first roles. But no, I've never seen it.
Nice. Next, The Terminator.
Of course, great movie. Way better than the sequel.
Yeah,
You've seen The Terminator? Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Y'all were watching those together.
Yeah, I saw the Terminator and Terminator.
And you're with me, right? First Terminator better?
Probably.
Oh, come on. First Terminator blows the second one out of the water.
I haven't seen the third one, Beyond.
Neither have I.
St. Elmo's Fire.
No.
Okay, good to know. Die Hard.
No, I haven't seen the first one. I've seen the second and third ones.
My Life is a Lie.
I haven't seen it.
And also for the record, not a Christmas movie.
That's apparently a big debate.
You know who the villain is in that, right?
Huh.
It's
Santa Claus.
Nice.
Plays Hans Gruber.
Nice. Next, I've been told that I need to watch this. The Karate Kid.
Oh, fuck yeah. Love the
Never
Karate
seen
Kid.
it.
Seminal 80s movie.
I have friends who
Excellent.
apparently likes a lot of 80s.
I want to say, no, listen, there's 3 Karate Kid movies with the original character of the Karate Kid, Ralph Macchio. Then they did a 4th one where Hilary Swank was like the new Karate Kid, but Pat Morita's still in it. And they did a more modern take on it with Jackie Chan and Will Smith's son, Jaden.
I think that one.
I'm 90% sure. I'm 90% sure I saw the first 3 all in the theater.
Nice.
I definitely saw them all. They were some of our favorite movies, especially that loved the second one. The second one was my favorite.
Nice.
But yes, seen Karate Kid.
I've learned that with my friend group, a lot of my friends are probably around your age in the 80s, like kid-wise, growing up in the 80s, so they've seen a lot of 80s movies. And then I have a lot of friends who are older, like the young adults, but still very much into all that stuff, so they've seen a lot of 80s movies. And then I have a couple friends who are older than me, but weren't alive in the 80s, but because of the parents kind of grew up on 80s movies, and have seen a shit ton of 80s movies. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here like, that's cool.
I've seen
Y'all got Disney Plus? That's me.
Y'all got Disney Plus.
Oh, come on.
Like, that's cool.
I mean, Dylan watches.
Oh, what you watching on Netflix?
Dylan watches more 80s movies with me just because we're, hanging out
Hang out
together,
more.
watching movies at night, and you're
Sleeping.
on a different schedule than us. But I
like
definitely
sleep.
show you stuff. All right,
I am in a permanent relationship with sleep. The Outsiders. Next, Caddyshack.
Yes.
Okay, Ghostbusters.
Yes.
Nice. Heathers.
No.
Damn it.
You've seen... No, I don't think we watched the first one together. I think we watched the new one with the ladies, and I think we watched 2 together, but I think I've gotten around to showing you 1. I like 2 better.
I'm watching the
Have you
one
watched
with us.
Heathers?
No, he's never seen Heathers.
God damn you. Flashdance. I'm watching Heathers, guys.
I don't think I ever... If I ever saw Flashdance, I was familiar with it, and I remember like Snoopy doing a parody of it in one of the Peanuts shows.
Mm-hmm.
I may well have seen it, but I don't have any real memory of it, so I'll go with a no on that.
Alright, real quick. Dylan.
But I probably have seen it, to be fair.
Dylan has said he will willingly participate, but Dad, you show me a lot of 80s movies, I'm going to show you one. You and I are watching Heathers.
Meh.
Damn it, we're watching Heathers. It's been decided.
And Heathers is like,
Coming to America.
Oh,
It's
yes.
Mean Girls with Murder.
Another classic Eddie Murphy movie.
it's basically
Nice.
Mean Girls. I've seen Mean Girls, I think.
You have, but it's different. You gotta watch it.
Yeah.
It has the dude from Sweet Life on it.
Can we get on to this, please?
In it. Stand By Me.
Oh, my favorite movie in the 80s. Absolutely.
And then last one is Top Gun.
I don't know if I ever watched Top Gun all the way through, to be completely honest with you.
See, at least
Okay, I
part of
believe
it.
my final is 4.
My final is
I'm like
3.
maybe on top. I'm seriously trying to think. I remember
So,
Top
half
Gun
a
and being
point.
like, oh, it's Top Gun, yeah. But did I ever really sit down and watch it? I can't remember that much. I'm gonna go no on having seen. If the criteria is seeing the whole movie from start to finish, I don't know if I can count Top Gun.
Okay.
So if we don't count Top Gun and we don't count Flashdance, I'm at 23.
God damn, Dad, you're an 80s kid. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Can't deny that.
All right, well, thanks for joining us for this look at some modern pop culture as well as some 80s pop culture.
It was just in the reboot of the 80s.
And on that note, come back next week when the conversation will continue. But until then, I am and will continue to be Maddie.
Lexi.
Dylan.
And this is LexiCon concluded. Be excellent to each other.
And party on.